Zane, that you can pull her out.
Yeah. Uh,
And
yeah.
okay, so and the goal is we're gonna just walk through it. Everybody will be on mute. There's no questions yet. We pull the route, and Zane just goes through the route. Um, so then Zane just goes through the route as if he was doing a route inspection, right? And Zane, you can talk to me as if it was my route, right?
Okay. Um, yeah, I can do that. I also put together like 4 or 5 slides, too, on just like why it's important. And then with the route inspection sheet, I know that some of them maybe haven't seen it. So if you don't care, I'm just
Yeah,
going to share real quick and then I'll get into that. Oh, can you, somebody make me a host so I can share?
yeah, I get you here. Actually, let me see. There we go. Do make co-host.
Perfect. All right, let me. Okay, it'll probably be better if I actually just straight up share my screen, for later. But guys, I wanted to kind of start out with I try not to do anything without telling you guys why in any situation. Just because for me, I'm very much I'm doing this mostly because this is how I am. Because if somebody wants me to do something, I want to understand the why behind why we're doing it. Um, so I've been talking to Tony the last couple weeks, and I think he's kind of hit the nail right on the head as far as we can do everything as far as training on what they should do in the field, but if we're not getting everybody set up the right way every single week for them to go out and be set up for success, that's one place where we're lacking. It looks like a little bit, but also, and that's just as much on me. That's just as much on Tony. That's on all of us right now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna scrap anything that we're doing before, and what we're gonna do now is every single week, we already have those checkout sheets. We're also gonna implement these route inspections with it. Some of the main reasons why, I actually looked up some analogies, guys, because I'm terrible with them. I kind of like this one, but think of yourself as a pit crew for the race for a race car. All right, your job is to make sure they're ready to win. So they've got their wheels on tight, their engines ready to go, their fluids are checked, they're reared up and ready to go, so that they can go max speed right out of the gate. All right, and this is going to maximize their any wasted time, and it's going to maximize their production. That's everything that we're trying to do, and this whole training is so that we can not waste time and we can maximize what they're actually getting out in the field. It's like a map. No one's going to get lost along that way. And also with a lot of this too, I know for me, we did this every single week. Every Monday afternoon, we went over routes and my numbers and went over these different things. It made it feel like they cared about my success as much as I did. They're going through my stuff with nitpick comb. I know got another slide on here that I'm gonna skip later because I'm gonna talk about it now. Because this shows them that you care, all right? And this isn't always just a hey, this isn't a critiquing you like this is all what you're doing bad. This is where you need to get better. No, like I'm doing this because I want every single day of your week for you to be productive and be able to build your pipeline. That is my entire job as your manager. That's what I want to get done. And then really a sloppy route is like sending an agent into a maze without an exit. Okay. Because they're just gonna be running into walls. All right. They're gonna come into businesses that aren't qualified. They're gonna be wasting their time going into home addresses. They're going to also be in a lot of times spending a lot of drive time in between these businesses that should be a lot closer together. And really, with that, it's going to make them lose momentum. They're going to feel disorganized, and then that's going to mean they're not going to get as many walk-ins, which means they're not going to get as many presentations, which is also going to get into fewer closes and less enrollments, which means overall less money. So everything that we're going to do today, we are going to be like, okay, every single one of my agents I know is in a good way to get out to their businesses. Another big thing and that's not even on here is that they're going to be more excited about the routes. That's one of the big things. You don't, well, I know that me personally, I don't know how many times I guarantee that I went out on a couple routes on a few weeks where I was like, oh, I'm just gonna run into the same decision makers that are either gonna tell me no, or I'm gonna be slamming my head against the car door because I've went in and this decision maker's not been in for the past 9 days. So we have a good mix of those new and follow-ups. And I knew if I had a good amount of new leads, I had good research, like I was more excited for the week, just in general. I felt like I had opportunity out in the field because of that was going on. So we should make sure that our leads are qualified, layered, and efficient, and that the agents can cover more ground, which is going to mean they can talk to more businesses and build stronger pipelines. And then the team where the managers set this high standard, and the big thing is holding everyone accountable. Okay, we talk about accountability all the time. I know this is not the first time that any of you managers in here have probably heard me say the word holding people, to say the phrase holding people accountable. All right. So this is a good way that we can do this. All right. And then what your role is here is to not be the backseat driver. All right, guide them correct, and then set the standard. So that means that if you guys are going out on routes that aren't so great, if you are don't have your appointments on there, you don't have your start and stop times, you're not taking that serious on having good research on there, that's what they're gonna see. So it has to start with you guys setting the standard of when people get out of classroom training. This is what they see every single day, and they know that this is what's going to be expected of them because this is what their manager was doing. All right. And like I was saying earlier, use this as coaching, not criticism, and then use those inspections sometimes to, celebrate when it's working. You know what I mean? Like if they're going out on good routes and you know that last week they did really good and it was like, hey, because you were so prepared this last week, that's why you got that. That wasn't because of me. That wasn't because of anything. That was because you were so prepared that you went out in the field and got things done. All right. And then when they're consistent, the agent's always going to get better routes. This is going to be the standard. And then in 4 weeks, you guys aren't going to have to worry about it anymore because everybody's routes are going to be good because they know exactly what it's going to look like. I'm not going to act like these first couple weeks, it's not going to take a little bit longer because there's probably some people that are way out in left field right now. Whether you want to admit that or not, there probably are a few. Um, Going through this is going to kind of highlight some things, so it may take a little bit longer for somebody that's routes are a little bit all over. And I know that Tony sent this out, but this is the route inspection sheet that we're going off of. Every agency that I go to that uses this one is by far the most efficient on some different things. And sorry to call you out a little bit here, Tony. Like when we were having our conversation, he was like, "So what of this do we need to focus on?" He's like, "What on these do we need to focus on?" And I was like, "All of it. Like we need to make sure that every single one of these boxes is checked." I don't think that anything, like obviously there's a couple things that might be a little bit more important, like having qualified leads is probably the most important thing. But if you do all of these things, you're assuring that they are 1,000% going out on a good route. So I'm just gonna literally go. I know this is probably pretty small for some of you guys. So I'm not. I'm gonna, instead of going through it here, I'm gonna talk about going through each step when I'm actually going through this route. All right. So now what I'm gonna do. And also, Ryder, I knew that I could pick on you, so I grabbed one of your route from Tuesday. Just so you know. So you're welcome. You got voluntold. Don't unmute yourself. Just leave it there. Okay. It was great. Thank you. We really appreciate your help with the team. But okay. So actually, nope. I got to get mine pulled back up over here. Well, guys, I was doing really good until I lost it. Now I'm back. Oh, see, there's another one. That's what it looks like. This is why they don't let Zane lead the technology team. All right. So here we go. All right. So really, right off the bat, what we're going to start out with is up on the top left. The biggest thing is your 10 blocks turned in? Because none of the rest of this matters if we're not looking at this in accordance to what their 10 blocks has. Okay. So we're basing this off of everything that they have with their 10 block. And then the very first thing I'm gonna look at, it's like, okay, is their route got their Got the name on and formatted on the top. So he's got Tuesday Warrensburg. I think that he actually has the date on here. I just for some reason can't click on it right now. Um, the very first thing that's important. Okay, and then we're gonna go through every single thing. So correct layers. So I'm gonna look through, do they have their enrollments? Do they have appointments? And if you scroll down right here, right off the bat, number three, he's got an appointment at 9:30. Perfect. So that shows me at least his appointments are on there. We're looking through. I'm gonna just look for any more appointments or different things like that. I'm gonna be looking at his 10 blocks with this. It's like, okay, so I know you had that appointment in the morning, or maybe you had one in the afternoon. Okay, I'm seeing your one for this morning, but I'm not seeing where your afternoon one is. Do you actually have a lead for that, or what's going on with that? It's like, okay, well, let's throw that back on. So I looked through there. Okay, no more scheduled activity for that day, but I already knew maybe he only had that one appointment in the morning. So the next thing, correct layers, does he have some follow-up leads on here? Yes. If you go through here, you can see there's plenty of things that have different follow-up dates on it where he had already been into. And if you notice, there's, a few that have notes, there's a few that didn't have notes, so that's good to see. So while I'm doing this, I'm taking mental notes of what I'm kind of looking at. So, because some of this stuff we'll be able to make sure that we're looking at a little bit later. So I'm going to go through here. And so right now, when just scrolling through looking at, his follow-up leads and everything, again, thank you for participating, Ryder. But the one of the notes right now that I would have right off the bat would be like, hey, you're probably looking at about 90-10, maybe 80-20 max on your follow-up to new cases. All right. So we're probably going to start there. We're going to like be like, hey, you know, are you an area you've been quite a bit? Have you looked at any leads in any towns that are, within 10 to 15 minutes of that? So we can get a good mix of those new and follow-ups. I already know that's going to be a conversation that I'm having, but I'm putting that on the back burner for when we get to it. So I'm going right down. He didn't have any enrollments. He had his appointments on there. He had follow-ups on there as well. I didn't see one thing that was a duplicate, so there were no duplicate stops. And as far as enough leads, I'll go down here. So he's got 24 leads, 100% on his route with an appointment. I'm probably not going to hound on that very much. You know what I mean? I think having a good um, 28 to 30 is pretty much the best just in case that appointment doesn't go through. But I'm probably not going to be upset at 24 leads on a route with an appointment. We're gonna make sure like for this instance, that's completely fine. I would maybe make a note of, hey, you only had 24 there, so make sure you're remembering to do your at 3 o'clock to set those ones that you can do your walkbacks. For next week, maybe have two or three more just in case that appointment doesn't run through. Some different things like that. And then after we've done this, so we've went through duplicate stops, we've seen that he has enough qualified leads, and then correct time to meet decision maker. So I'm actually going to go through here and kind of look at some of his notes and see, what kind of one, does he have some notes for businesses that say, hey, that actually doesn't open until they don't come in till 9 or they're not open till 9. Different things like that, making sure that we're putting them every single week, every single morning, and the best way to actually get in front of decision makers. Now, once I get to a veterinary hospital, if I see something before 10 o'clock, I'm probably going to make a note of that. Like, hey, if you're going to a white collar business, that probably needs to be from anywhere from 10 to 2. All right, let's focus that 8 to 10 time on getting to those blue collar businesses because we know that's going to set us up in the right situation to get in front of decision makers, right? So, we're going to scroll through here and look at the different types of industries that he has throughout the day. And I'm just going to skip, for time purposes, I'm just going to skip to the end of the day here. Okay. So he has a good mix, majority of blue collar businesses on here. He's got wrecker sales right off the bat. He may have already been there and know that that's where somewhere that he needs to go first or not. I may even ask that question being like, hey, do you know what time they open? Um, Also, one of the thing, and then we're going to look at time of day and some different things. With, again, sorry that this is all on you, Ryder, but for somebody that they're getting to their first walk-in at 9:16, because that's the next thing that we're going to talk about is 8 before 8 and 5 after 5. So, okay, so you're not going to be able to get into your first walk-in until 9:15. What do you have going on, that morning that's going to get in your way that you can't get out there, Is it that they have a 3 hour drive? I'm going to be a little bit more lenient maybe if they're driving 3 hours away. But if they're, an hour or two away from home, it's like, hey, if you want to set yourself up for success to see these decision makers, we need to make sure that we're getting into businesses either 8 or before in some of these cases. While I'm going through the routes, I'm probably either going to make a mental note or make kind of a tally of where he has some leads that even on his route, say either before 8 o'clock or maybe after 5 o'clock, to be like, okay, well, he's going to get either 8 before 8 or 5 after 5. So you're going through there. I actually skipped one, but it was start and end locations. But I already knew that was good from the very beginning because I saw he had his home and then home at the end. And then when we're gonna go through, we're gonna go. Um, I will ask them just because I want to push this. How many of these leads that are on your route today are from referrals? Okay, just because I want everybody putting that in their mind that every single day they should have some easy wins throughout the day. And if they don't, they should be starting to kind of get that in their head that every single day I should maybe have something that even if you've been to it before but didn't get in front of decision makers, like how many of these came from businesses that you got referrals from? That's always a good note as far as again, because we're going to push those referrals as much as we can. You all know how imperative it is. I don't have to tell you that. But anywhere that I can put a little plug of, hey, you didn't have you okay, it's been 3 of these days you don't have any referrals. So what are we going to focus on this week? When we're talking to business owners that we present to or businesses that don't end up being qualified, what are we going to ask for? You know what I mean? So helping them get in that mind. And then as soon as I get done with that, I'm gonna start looking at research. Okay. I'm gonna go. Um, I know that he did have quite a few that had some research on here. So that's awesome. Like that gets me one pumped up because that means you guys are actually listening to me. Woohoo! I like that. But second off, I think just in general having this is like again as a manager, they're seeing that they're like, okay, my manager is using this research. He's got it in here. It's obviously important. My only note on the research it would be like, hey, instead of just having all this stuff in here, whether so you have to read through it and then devise a couple questions while we're at the office on Monday, just throw two open-ended questions in here instead of all this stuff. That way you walk up to a business, you see where you're at, you look at your two open-ended questions, and you're like, okay, what are my two open-ended questions? And then boom, you're right into a business. You're not taking that time in between to kind of like read through things and make a game plan. You've already got that created for yourself on Monday. And then when you're going to go research good, some none. Now, he does have a decent amount of research, but there's a decent amount of leads in here that don't have a few things. So I would say some on the verge of good on this situation. So overall, that's great. We're gonna go even into satellite view. I'm gonna go through some of these ones that may look like they're a little bit out in the outskirts of town or something like that. So oh, I'm on the map as I'm talking about satellite view. Okay, 19. I can tell that's obviously a business. I'm literally gonna go through here and look at the route and inspect it. Okay, that's definitely a business as we're going along through things. I'm gonna go through every single one of these leads that he has. I'm gonna be like, okay, so now oh, that's a cul-de-sac right there, but nope, we're good. There actually is a business there. Cool. That's right off the highway. We're good. Like these little nitpicky things can save new agents. All right. Think about how much time we have of new agents going into home addresses or different things like that. They are not getting as many reps if they're going into those. All right. Most of the time, a home address is off in the Goonies and they're actually spending 15 to 30 minutes out of their way. So that's for a brand new person could be two or three more walk-ins that they're getting in, that they're getting better, even if they're not getting things out of it. So, like I said, going straight through all of that, making sure there's no home addresses, and then there's no red. So if there's any red at all, we know that that's not going to be optimized in the right way, guys. So that's pretty obvious. If we see red, I'm sure you guys are already doing that. So that's as far as what I'm going to do through everybody, every single person's route for every day that they have routes. Okay. Um, again, this is going to take a little bit longer for somebody that's a little bit all over the place. I think depending on the amount of time that they've been here, if they're brand new, that's okay to kind of walk them through things. If they've been here, 2, 3 weeks, a month, and you've kind of corrected some different things, you can kind of pre-look at some of these before you have your route checkouts and be like, hey, I looked through your routes real quick. You don't have your beginning and end locations. You don't have your layers on there. You actually don't have any research before we're going to do our route checkout today. You got to get those things fixed. Those are the kind of conversations that I'm gonna be having with people throughout the day if I can. If I get on and even like Monday first thing in the morning, they've got a couple of routes created. And it's like, hey, so are you still working on those routes or are those done? Okay, those are done. I'm gonna look through those already preemptively to get out in front of it. Um, Again, I'm not gonna act like this isn't a little bit more work on you guys, but I guarantee you guys will see a lot more stuff. If every single route, everybody has the right things going on, nobody's wasting their time in the field. And that's the biggest thing for me, and especially with new agents. They need the max amount of their opportunity they possibly can get. And I think that was pretty much, let me hope I was going to unshare. That was pretty much my whole run through on that. Um, Now, if everybody wants to unmute themselves, you guys are probably good. Tony, do you have any comments or anything or any questions for me?
Yes. So if you can share that route inspection sheet like on the screen and then just kind of
Yeah.
walk through those things, I think that's gonna be helpful. Um, and Zane, just I don't know what your time frame is, so I don't know if you've got something at 2 or not.
I don't have anything directly at
Okay.
2. I do at 2:15 though.
Okay, so I will most likely bounce off of here and catch a 2 o'clock to leave everybody else on so that there can be some Q&A time with that
Okay.
15 minutes, if that's all right.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fine.
I'm certain there's going to be some more dialogue. So if we can go through what that inspection sheet looks like, and then it you kind of went through some of those good points. If you can also tell me and everybody, what are some of the things that you are like, okay, this is n not a good route, and you can just tell that it wasn't put together. I'll tell on myself, Zane. The teacher always knew if I wrote the paper the night before or if I took an actual few days to write the
Yeah.
paper, right?
hmm
So, um, if you can explain what makes a better story of how their week is going to go through that better routes than as we cram for the test and it doesn't go well for us.
Yeah. A bad route to me, well, I mean, you're gonna get on, and there's gonna be people that the very first thing that you have to make and look and make sure of is that they don't have any leads that say new. I know that there's a lot of times that there are either new routes that aren't 100% qualified, or there's a lot of non-nas, is what I call them, like NA, to where we don't have the decision maker name. I'm like, if you don't have their information, it doesn't need to be on your route. That's a cold stop of what you're doing, so don't put that on your route. Again, everything that we're doing is we're making sure we're setting people up for success. As far as every single business, they can go in and follow the system. Um, the second thing, really, I feel like I see a whole lot is not start and stop times. I can tell that somebody just threw something together real fast most of the time if they don't even have their beginning and end locations on it. A lot of people are like, well, it's not that important as it is. Like, if you're going to actually get it optimized the right way, and I know that there's going to be times that it's not 100% perfect. Okay, so let me preface that with that too as well. But I would say 95% of the time that actually is going to be your most optimized route around your times as long as you have your layers in there correctly and all of those different things. Um, and then as far as just like kind of about route, I mean, those are really the two main things I'm going to make sure of, but also the time of day is big. Actually going in there, seeing, looking like, okay, you've got two veterinary clinics at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, what? Why is that your two first stops of the day? All right, like you know, unless they've got a note like, hey, this DM told me to come back at this time, but that's not going to be super often, right? So making sure, like I said, that time between 8 and 10, that is blue collar businesses only. Okay. That 10 to 2, if they do have white collar businesses and if they have a decent amount, we're going to have that conversation. So making sure that they have the right leads in their route. And it's not 90% white collar businesses, especially first starting out. That's something you're going to get with new people every single time. And the reasoning behind that is they're the easiest to pat call. So they're going to have the most of those types of leads. So just making sure that one, they don't have those a big majority of those blue white collar businesses in the morning or like late in the afternoon, setting them up that way. And then really with that, just making sure they have enough leads. If it's somebody that doesn't build a whole lot of rapport, they're going to get through 26 walk-ins and be done by 2 and leave for the day. Okay. Like I know how much, like I know your average time. I know that you get through your routes a little bit faster. For somebody like that, you may make it mandatory that they have 30. You know what I mean? So you're gonna know who your agents are, and we all know who are the talkers and who aren't. And so that's within your own team, figuring that out and knowing what you got to go. I see Diana laughing about that. We all know, we know. And then really, as far as that goes, that's the biggest things for me. As far as what I want to focus on and make sure of is that my main thought behind it is have when they go out on their route, have they made it the most possible to get in front of the most decision makers every single day? What can have I put them in a position that they can walk into a decision maker and present? Because all that matters is presentations. I mean, we can talk about walk-ins going up, we can talk about conversions going up, everything else, but the big thing that matters is how many times are they presenting? Well, they're never going to present unless they're getting in front of those decision makers. So, what am I going to do every single walk-in to put them in the best situation that they can get in front of those people, right? Um, that's going to be the main thing. So, you want me to walk through each one of these again now that I have this up? Okay. Diana's like, no. Okay.
So, so basically, I want to give him some time to ask some questions for sure. The way I take this, Zane, is the whole purpose is let's maximize the opportunity when we get in the door and the opportunity to get to the presentation. So all of the route inspection, everything that's being put together, it's it's not punishment, it is an opportunity to actually have a presentation. And that's what we want. We want to be able to drive presentations, and that starts with the pack and then the route, making sure there's a solid 10 block. So I definitely can appreciate this check sheet. And the way that I look at this check sheet is every one of those boxes from the SA name and the agent name. So those are the two that you would fill out if you had one agent as an SA, right? So it's SA has their check, agent has their check, or is it you're checking the SA's route and then the agents on
Um,
the sheet?
so for that just depends on how you guys set it up. I mean, that's about one way that is for the essay in the first one. Because a lot of times what they have and how good they are is going to be a representation of everything else.
Yep.
So I always really with the essay, that's kind of that conversation. That was going to be another thing that I was going to say. Even if they're brand new, even if they're only going out on their supervisor's route, when they're having that route checkout, that agent needs to be with them because I want them knowing exactly what the standard is the entire time, whether it's for their supervisor or not. Because that way they're going through it, they're hearing what the notes are, even for their supervisor, so they're getting in the headspace of knowing what boxes they're going to need to make sure get checked off. Yes, Diana.
So I just wanted to give some props to Terry and her team because I know Terry has really taken the lead on um, pushing her team to do a really great route inspection, and that is obviously evident with their activity and their success. Again, thank you, Ryder, for doing a good job, and then Bailey and Ben, and they're really doing some great things. So, I wanted to point out that when we changed our schedule a little bit, we opened up that time for us to do two route inspections. The first one's supposed to happen at 8:30 in the morning on Monday. The only way we can do that is if you actually have your routes built. So I know Terry's team is building them. I believe Fridays at 4 p.m. Is that right? She has allotted that time period from 4 to 5 p.m. because not a lot of walk-ins are happening at that time, to do their routes. And then let's say that something's, I can't do that. I have a football game or I have, I'm driving home from an enrollment or whatever. The expectation for her team is that those routes are built before they get to work on Monday morning so that they can go through as a team, right? All of you guys are in the same room as we go through and do that inspection. And we're saying, okay, here's stop one. This is good. Stop two, stop three. She has a different sheet that she's using before we get to this one. And I think that that has really been pretty fantastic, at least from the outside view, to see that things are coming together for them. And obviously, we're seeing a lot of great field activity from them for sure. So I just want to reiterate that that time is built into the schedule so that we can do that first inspection. We're supposed to be here at 8 o'clock, and then we start inspection at 8:30. We have an hour to do that. And then you have the rest of the day to fill in. Okay, you don't have enough stops. I need to do that many packs. Okay, these are the stops that I don't have those research questions. That's what I should be working on during my research block. Okay. And then when we meet again at 2 o'clock after our training with our team, then we can really get nitty gritty on did we finish this sheet. So, first of all, major props to Terry and her team. Secondly, reminder of that's what the expectation is going to be now because a lot of things have changed in the past, but we have got to get it together so that we can have the success that we're seeing with the expectations set in place. So I think that
Yeah.
if we can, reiterate that to our everybody, I think that's important.
So
Yeah.
just real quick, Zane, I gotta jump
Hope
into
you're
this
good.
clock. Diana, you are on co-host, so is Zane, so it shouldn't dump the meeting. Um, yes, I support everything that you just said. We built an extra hour into Monday specifically to add that extra hour into our routes because we see the light, Zane. We understand solid route means best opportunity to present this week, right? Those boxes might as well represent percentages. And the more boxes you have checked, the higher the percentage chance you're going to have a good week in the field, ultimately. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to you guys for some Q&A. And yep, Zane, I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
No problem. Yeah, and really to kind of just piggyback on a little bit of what Diana said there too. This is like holding people accountable doing those things during those times too. Like when you guys are focusing on that, you guys are focusing on routes and research and not looking at deductions or having random team meetings or doing just kind of what it like, not being intentional with your time because we only have so much time on Mondays. We know, especially for you managers, like your time is incredibly valuable every single day. I mean, I guarantee, I know that you guys feel like you're drinking out of a fire hose most Mondays and your brains hurt by the end. Okay. They won't so much if you stick to what you put on your schedule and do that. Okay. Where you feel like you're all over the place is because you aren't scheduling it out the right way. All right. I, that is the biggest thing. And even if for yourself within that schedule, I would have I actually I started to get into the office at like 6:30 because our um, management meetings actually started at 7. So I had 30 minutes to kind of get my ducks in a row and I would write out my entire schedule for the day because I would feel like a duck out of water every single week if I didn't. Not saying that you have to get to the office at 6:30, but even if that looks like Sunday night, kind of getting your schedule lined out so that you're like, I'm doing this time, this time, this time, and then even if every single person maybe has to get like a sign like Diana has on the outside of her office on like their forehead of like, don't mess with me right now. Do that. Be respectful of your time throughout the Mondays. Like, hey, they're coming to you about a claim or something going on. Like, hey, you're supposed to be doing research right now. We're gonna talk about that later. And then not letting them leave until they've been checked out like this. Okay, that's gonna be the big thing. Is that it's always like, oh, I forgot I've got a dentist appointment at 2 o'clock today. Well, one, why do you have a dentist appointment at 2 o'clock on a Monday? Two, well, you better have your ducks in a row because you've got to have this checked out before you go. And if not, that means that you're either going to call me late or and show me that this is going to be done because I'm not letting you go out this week because I care about your success so much because this is the standard that we have for our agency now. Okay. So some of those talks probably won't be super fun and they're going to be a little bit awkward, but again, basing it around of you're trying to do everything you can for them to get their goals. All right. Now I know that I have been speaking for the last me or Tony or Diana have been speaking for the last, I don't know, however minutes. So what questions do we have? I know that that was a bunch of information, a lot of different things. What questions do you have? Do you like, even if this is, I won't consider it I gotcha. Do you feel like any of this would be hard for you guys to handle or manage throughout the day or anything like that?
I think it's important to note, you guys, like the people that are brand new, whenever you get a new agent, they don't know any different, right? So we're going to teach them that this is what we should have been doing from the start. And those of us that have been here for a while, I would say I'm just going to venture a guess. Most of us are not thrilled with what money we've been making or the amount of closed cases that we've had in the last 9 months. So what we were doing isn't working. So I get it that this is uncomfortable. I get it that we're being held accountable. Accountability kind of sucks sometimes, but it comes from a place of love where we want people to be successful. The whole point of being in this business is to make money and help families, right? And we're not able to do that if we don't know where we're supposed to go on our routes. It goes all the way back to the beginning. So try it, see if it makes a difference for you because I would be willing to bet money that it will make a difference. I know Ryder's been doing this for a couple of weeks and there are several people in the agency that are very, very successful outside of the system. There are. You have a great, big, dynamic personality, but does that mean that you can duplicate it? Right? So there's plenty of people. Uh, Tommy Rector is a great example of that, right? He's phenomenal. He has great relationships with his people, but he doesn't use this system. So that's hard to duplicate if you're in leadership. So you have to decide, do you want to go rogue and be your agent and be well, I can't say Jason Adams anymore, but Corey Halsey and just rock it out. Sorry, Zane. But like, or do you want to build a team so that you have people that help you do that? And if you want to build a team, it has to be by the system and we have to be able to duplicate it. It's going to be hard work now, but I would be willing to bet money that if we implement the systems in the 6 years I've been here, anytime we've implemented a system, it's only been better. It's just uncomfortable when you're trying to do it. So, let's roll the dice and see if we can make some amazing things happen this last quarter for everybody that's trying to do it. We can only
Yeah.
go up from here.
And this too, this isn't like the rollout of like 180 guys. This is Whittingham has used this for years.
Mhm.
We used the it had I would say 75% of the things we had our own that we had created because we just did that kind of thing. But like there, I'm trying to think of some other agencies that I've been to that use it. There's not
Yolan.
just them.
Yeah.
There's a yeah, Violand uses this. Like a majority of the agencies that you see that are on the leaderboards in a lot of situations are doing this and holding things accountable. But with what she's kind of saying too, we can't do it for just 2 weeks. And then we're like, okay, well, we're kind of over that now. Um, we didn't immediately see results. You're not going to see results in the first, actually, you probably will see some results even in the first week, but where you're really going to start seeing results is in the 4 to 6 week mark. In 4 to 6 weeks, you'll be like, wow, okay, no, our DMs met have went up 5-10%. Our, presentations are going up. People are putting themselves in a really good position to present and close all the time. And then it's like, oh crap, now we've got to stop, have another talk about the assumptive close because we're presenting too much, and not getting closes. Like that's just kind of the cycle of how these things go. But if we can make sure that every single person on our team every single week is prepared and ready to go, it's gonna be awesome.
I did have a question more on the technological side. So, do
Yeah.
you still have my route pulled up?
I think so. Yeah. One second. Yeah.
So, if you scroll down to the one of the ones without research, that animal talk right there, or yeah, that one. It doesn't
Oh,
pop up the research on it, but whenever you click
this
on the
one?
actual lead, yeah, that one. And when you click on the actual lead, there's a whole like the box is filled with research. So I don't know like why it's not popping up. Well, I mean, I said filled, but it was a referral lead. So
Oh, my bad. Wrong one. I
yeah,
clicked. Oh, my bad.
it's a
Which one did
different
you
it's a
say?
different vet clinic. I think it's the Animal Talk.
Oh,
Yep.
Animal Talk. Okay.
Yep.
So whatever, Ryder. I mean, just call me out, dude. It's whatever.
No, I was just
Cool.
wondering why
We
it's
get
not
it. You
popping
had your
up.
research on your
I
route.
put my
Everybody
research on
saw
the
it.
route. Dang it, Zane.
No, that's good. Okay. I am not really sure. Let me see. Was this a referral? Is that
This was one that I got from a past agent.
okay? Let me ask on that. The only
Okay.
other thing, like if you create your own lead, sometimes those kind of things don't show up. I've asked about it. I haven't got a straight answer ever. If I'm gonna be straight up with you when I
Okay.
ask that, I could BS you guys around a little bit right now and be like they're working on it, but I really haven't got a straight answer when I've asked about that.
Okay.
Well, good job having your research, whatever. Cool. I actually forgot to grab it. I bought a shirt that you would really appreciate this last week, Ryder, by the way, too.
Is it fun
It's
like this?
fun. It's a
Okay.
fun one.
Okay. Good. Good.
Okay, guys. Well, I gotta hop off here because I gotta be off in 2 minutes unless